Excuse me. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Fresno, California. Bienvenidos a la Iglesia Unitaria Universalista de Fresno, California. Welcome to all on our online campus and to all on our Alluvial Avenue church campus. Hey, everybody. We are one congregation in many places. We also want to acknowledge that our Alluvial Avenue church campus sits within the traditional homelands of the Yokuts and Mono peoples. As Unitarian Universalists, we welcome you no matter your race, culture of origin, age, spiritual background, or religious beliefs. We welcome you no matter your disabilities, the amount of money in your bank account, your level of education, or your neurodiversity. You are welcome with or without documentation, con papeles o sin papeles. No human being is illegal at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno. As Unitarian Universalists, we not only open our doors to people of all sexual orientations and gender identities, we value diversity of sexuality and gender and see it as a spiritual gift. Todos son bienvenidos aquí. If you are on our virtual campus and you wish to share a joy, sorrow, concern, or gratitude on both the virtual and Alluvial Avenue campuses, enter it now, that's now, in the chat box. Yes, you type your joy, sorrow, concern, or gratitude now. And we'll write them down and give them to Linda so she can include them later in the service. If you don't do it now in that chat box, we will not have time to include them. Our worship theme for the month of January is Living with Intention. We've been exploring this in different ways throughout the month, and today we examine how we can live with intention in the space between knowing something and being certain about something. Now, in that chat box, in person at the Alluvial Avenue, or in the silent sacredness of hearts, let's take a moment to greet one another.
All right. Yes, you as well.
Yeah. It's been a week.
Uh-huh. It's been a little more than this, but
Well, it's not Tim's. There's always a difference.
not surprising with between Tim and the Omicron.
Yeah. People are like, stars.
Yeah.
All right.
A sensible one, anyway.
Suppose we should get this show running. I think y'all on our virtual campus are easier to quiet down at the end of greeting than the folks in the Alluvial Avenue campus. Just guessing. Good morning, I'm Linda Tolliday, a member of our worship arts team, and I am very happy to be working with Lori in the service today. I invite our virtual campus attendees to gather a candle or chalice to light after our prelude. As we begin our service this morning on both our Alluvial Avenue campus and our virtual campus, let the sound of the tingsha open our hearts to all we might receive.
Nazareth, I was feeling about half past dead. I just need some place where I can lay my head. Hey, mister, won't you tell me where a man might find a bed? He just grinned and shook my hand. No was all he said. Take a load off Fanny. Take a load for free. Take a load off Fanny. And put the load right on me. Picked up my bag. I went looking for a place to hide. When I saw Carmen and the devil walking side by side, I said, hey Carmen, come on, let's go downtown. She said, I gotta go, but my friend can stick around. Take a load off Fanny. Take a load for free. Take a load off Fanny. And put the load right on me. Go down, Miss Moses, there's nothing you can say. It's just old Luke, and Luke's waiting on the judgment day. Well, Luke, my friend, what about young Anna Lee? He said, do me a favor, son, won't you say and keep Anna Lee company? Take a load off Fanny. Take a load for free. Take a load off Fanny. And put the load right on me. Crazy Chester followed me, and he caught me in the fog. He said, I'll fix your rack if you take Jack, my dog. I said, wait a minute, Chester, you know I'm a peaceful man. He said, that's okay, boy, won't you feed him when you can? Take a load off Fanny. Take a load for free. Take a load off Fanny. And put the load right on me. Catch a cannonball, now take me down the line. My bag is sinking low, and I do believe it's time to get back to Miss Fanny. You know she's the only one who sent me here with her regards for everyone. Take a load off Fanny. Take a load for free. Take a load off Fanny. And put the load right on me.
I bet we are the only church in Fresno whose band is playing the band this morning. Thanks. I invite those of you on our virtual campus to light a candle as Lori lights the chalice in the sanctuary. We come together every week, bound not by a creed or a mutual desire to please one God or many gods, but by a belief that how we are in the world, who we are together, matters. We light this chalice together in the knowledge that love, not fear, can change the world. I invite those present on our Alluvial campus to rise in body and spirit and join in those in our virtual campus in singing Lean on Me. If you're present in our Alluvial campus and not yet vaccinated, please sing in the sacredness of your own heart.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You just call on me, neighbor, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road. I'll share your load if you just call me. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
Standing while we recite our church mission. La misión de la Iglesia Unitaria Universalista de Fresno es amar inclusivamente, crecer espiritualmente, servir con gratitud y trabajar por la justicia. The mission of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno is to love inclusively, grow spiritually, serve gratefully, and work for justice. Please be seated. Whether you are here on our Alluvial campus or attending our virtual campus, I invite you to relax into your chair, breathe in and out, and in again, and out, and one last time in and out. As we look back over the past week, when in the past week were you certain about something? When in the past week did someone else's certainty concern you? As some of us entered the sanctuary this morning, or those on the virtual sanctuary entered in the chat box, they recorded some joys and sorrows. Here are some of the things we're feeling this morning. We have a bunch. Jamie's recovering from surgery. Yeah. We hold up, as we have every week for a while now, Jody's son Brandon as he continues his long recovery. Christina C. in Sherman Oaks sent the sorrow for 4 giants who have passed recently. I hear these as well: E.O. Wilson, Harry Reid, Hank Aaron, and the Bishop Desmond Tutu. She also has a joy. Her family member Meg recently married Phil, the love of her life. Congratulations, Meg and Phil. Here in the sanctuary, or shared, I have from Evan Ship, sorrow for a meteorologist and should be for everyone else. This month will mark the driest January on record in Fresno. We continue to hold up the concern echoed in our 7th principle for what climate change does to our world. Alice Richards shares a joy. Her gratitude is to be with you all this Sunday from Paris, France. Woo-hoo. And for all those who work to make it possible, a safe and joyful Lunar New Year on Tuesday. Welcome, Alice. Debbie Aki shares a big shout out and thank you to Chloe and Jeff for the great new church website. Huzzah! If you have not been to the new church website, y'all should go check it out. Cheyenne Janvipa says, a joy, made it the first week of her new job. She's grateful for the new job. Congratulations, Cheyenne. Molly Contos shares a gratitude. You showed up for me when I was in a very bad way. I'm still amazed. Gratitude always. May you continue to feel better, Molly. Kathleen Parker is grateful for emotional healing, happy and grateful to be joining. Sally Stafford has a gratitude. She's joyful in service to her community and nonprofit. And Valerie Johnson says she and Steve wish Emily a happy birthday. I think you all get to see Emily in a video a little later on in the service today. This week saw many world events, as it does every week. Today, I'm going to hold up 2 connected to our service theme, knowledge or certainty. To honor knowledge. On July 24th, the James Webb Space Telescope reached its final deployment position in our solar system. This magnificent triumph to human knowledge launched with 344 possible single points of failure, any one of which would have doomed dozens of years of work and millions of dollars, none of which took place. 6 months or so from now, we should see our first images from our new space telescope. Yay, science. And then more sadly, to recognize when knowledge becomes certainty. International Holocaust Memorial Day, that commemorates the victims of the Holocaust, which resulted in the murder of 1/3 of the Jewish people, along with countless members of other minorities between 1933 and 1945, by Nazi Germany in their attempt to implement their final solution, is celebrated, or commemorated, not celebrated, on the 27th of January every year, which was the date the Auschwitz concentration camp was liberated by the Red Army in 1945. As we think of all that's been shared here this morning and all that lies in the sacredness of our hearts, we also hold in our thoughts those unable to be with us because of poor health or compromised mobility, including Judy P., Molly K., Glenda R., Pat M., and Al G. Let us expand our circle of love beyond these walls to those who have no one to remember them or speak their name in kindness, gently, and with love. Through the light of our candle of community, may we and they be truly blessed. This week we passed a grim milestone with over 900,000 Americans now dead from COVID-19. And so, as is our tradition, we light a second candle to remember these Americans and the 5 million other citizens of the world who have died in this pandemic. Today's call to meditation is Comfort Me, Consuélame.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Consuélame. Consuélame, consuélame, oh mi alma. Consuélame, 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 oh mi alma. Speak to me, speak to me. Speak to me, oh my soul. Speak to me, speak to me, speak to me, oh my soul. Háblame, 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 oh mi alma. Háblame, 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 oh mi alma. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul.
Today's meditation is adapted from Susan Sochi. Day by day, month by month, year by year, we are confronted with all that we do not know, that we do not understand, that we do not grasp. Sometimes we're humbled by this knowledge and say, it's too wonderful for me to comprehend, but I know this universe is more grand and more beautiful than I could ever have imagined, and I give thanks for the blessing of being here and seeing, hearing, experiencing, and sensing all that is so wonderful around me. Sometimes we're saddened by this knowledge and say, we need to have the burden of hurt and suffering removed from us. Grant us the courage, the wisdom, and fortitude to bear the pain of living. Send us those who will carry our burdens for a short while, and send us those who will comfort us with their healing words and thoughts. Sometimes we're angered by this knowledge and say, in the name of justice and compassion, if it be in our power, give us the strength and ability to right the wrongs. For if we do not, no one will. Sometimes we're made joyous by this knowledge and we say, Spirit of life who blesses our world, we rejoice and cheer for our glorious life. Sometimes we're made curious by knowledge and we say, holy and inexplicable in this life, I have no idea what happened or how it happened, but somehow, some way, something changed, and I'm free to explore new ways of being. Please always let me continue to search for the unknown in myself and others. Así sea, bendito sea, blessed be. Amen.
Thank you. So, about 15 years ago, I decided I wanted to learn Spanish. And so after work, I took Spanish 1 in the fall semester, Spanish 2 in the spring semester, and people said, unless you do an immersion experience, you're not really gonna learn it very well. And so I did. I signed up for classes in Mexico that would be taught by Spanish speakers, and I would live with a family that does not speak English. And it was wonderful. And the family became so dear to me, even though my communication was poor at best. And the mother and I became very close, and we would try to have these deeper conversations, and she said, in Spanish, "Are you religious?" And I took a deep breath, and constructing the words in my brain, I said, "No soy religiosa, pero estoy en un viaje espiritual. Estoy cómoda con las preguntas y no necesito las respuestas. I'm not religious, but I'm on a spiritual journey. I'm comfortable with questions, and I don't need answers." She looked at me curiously, and you could tell she wanted to know more, but how the heck was I going to explain all of that in my limited Spanish? Since very young, I had a sense of mystery. I was very open and flexible, and I loved change and new. And it was a lovely way to be in the world, but when I went to middle school, which was 3 years when I was in school, it was a little difficult to navigate. I was drawn to students who had economic challenges, dysfunctional families, involving themselves in illegal activities, and unfortunately not knowing how to navigate that, I joined them. And that's kind of what we do at that age. But my parents sort of panicked, and they decided I would go to a different high school. And I was relieved at that. I was quite relieved. I could be free again and away from those temptations, but I didn't feel like I necessarily had a foundation that would keep me on task. I was drawn to this kind of odd group of young people who were kind of all over the place, and the boys had long hair and they wore funky clothes, and they were what we would have called then Jesus freaks. They were so energetic and lively, and I wanted in. There were definitely mores and taboos, there were rules, there was the Bible, but there was room for dialogue, and I was good. And it certainly kept me out of trouble. So, then moving on to college, of course I'm going to look for a community like that, and I was invited to a Campus Crusade for Christ Bible study. And a young woman was leading it, and we had a set format and everything neat and tidy, and I started my normal way of being. It wasn't challenging, it wasn't argumentative, but it was questioning and exploring options, and she cried. She did not know what to do with this, and she didn't feel she had the answers. They should be right here, but she didn't have them. I think she had to get counseling from her leadership. Oh well. I was judged because I sought knowledge and understanding, not certainty. In this world, I was to distribute 4 spiritual laws, submit to men, listen to preachers who told me what the Bible says and how it should be interpreted with no discussion, and I just wasn't comfortable with that kind of certainty. But I didn't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I took classes at my secular university in Old Testament and New Testament, comparative religions, and I began to see that that stuff that they were delivering didn't need to be followed. Knowledge and questioning and experiencing and enlightened and deepened me, and found places, and I found places and people who wanted the same thing. In grad school, I moved away from friends and my previous social groups, and I was looking for a church. I wanted to be a part, but I needed a special place, and it was not easy. After many attempts, I found the United Church of Christ, and there was a hodgepodge there. There were lots of young people, there were atheists, there were agnostics. Everybody felt very comfortable with being who they were in that environment. And so that fit for me. That was a good fit. But over the years, identifying myself as a Christian just didn't work anymore. I didn't feel I could ascribe to one way of thinking, and I couldn't use the language of that anymore. And I left the church. It was after quite a long time. Though taking a 15-year break from church, my desire continued for a community of seekers who were comfortable with the questions, who sought knowledge and were committed to the struggle. And the UU has become that for me. And here I am. No soy religiosa, pero estoy en un viaje espiritual. Estoy cómoda con las preguntas y no necesito respuestas. Please stand please stand as you are willing and able and join in singing the song, You've Got a Friend.
1, 2, 3, 4. When you're down and troubled and you need a helping hand, and nothing is going right, close your eyes and think of me, and soon I will be there to brighten up even your darkest nights. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you gotta do is call, and I'll be there, yeah, yeah, yeah. You've got a friend. If the sky above you should turn dark and full of clouds, and that old north wind should begin to blow, keep your head together and call my name out loud, and soon I will be knocking upon your door. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you gotta do is call, and I'll be there, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, ain't it good to know that you've got a friend when people can be so cold? They'll hurt you and desert you. They'll take your soul if you let them, but don't you let them. You just call out my name, and you'll know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you gotta do is call, and I'll be there, yes I will. You've got a friend. You've got a friend. Ain't it good to know you've got a friend? Ain't it good to know you've got a friend? Got a friend.
So I introduced myself earlier, but I'll do it again. I'm Linda Tolliday. I joined this church 15 years ago now. That can't be true. Thank you. I started off getting involved in the worship arts team, and then went on to doing some rounds of church leadership. I served as president of the board of trustees for a while, heavens, and then co-chaired the search committee, which brought us Reverend Tim. That's still the thing I'm proudest of in the church. And I'm back now serving on, and I have for the past few years, as chair of our worship arts team, which is where my heart lies in church community. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the concepts of knowledge and certainty. So a few days ago, I was being lazy, indulging in one of my favorite pastimes, arguing on the internet. And what was I arguing about? I was arguing that modern feminism was not trying to remove the choice for a woman to decide she wished to fulfill traditional gender roles for women. The guy I was arguing with insisted that since modern feminism wishes to eliminate gender-based roles, it was in fact eliminating the choice of a woman who wished to fulfill traditional female gender roles because they would not, okay, this doesn't matter, it's really not germane. The argument was esoteric at best, at worst it was trivial. I was so sure I was right, as was my opponent, that we failed to pay attention to the fact that we were just indulging in an exercise of futility, and we went on at each other as if the argument was what mattered. I had once again fallen into the trap of thinking that being right was important. I do that far more than I'd like to admit. I bet I'm not alone. And here's the deal. I'm wrong about stuff. You're wrong about stuff. We're all wrong about stuff. That's just math. Given the number of things that all of us believe or do not believe to be true, the number of things we consider or do not consider valuable, the number of policies we believe or do not believe will work, there's no possible way to be right about everything. We understand this retroactively. We can all remember times we were wrong in the past, but such is the nature of human cognition that we can barely even fathom that we might be wrong right now. Robert Burton, the former chief of neurology at the University of California in San Francisco, Mount Zion, recently wrote a book on being certain that explored the neuroscience behind feeling that you are right. He says there are two separate aspects of a thought: the actual thought and an independent involuntary assessment of the accuracy of that thought. Once we realize that the brain has a very powerful inbuilt involuntary mechanism for assessing cognitive ability, it's easy to see how it can send into consciousness a message that we know something. We can't presently recall that modest tip of the tongue feeling, right? At the other end of the spectrum would be the profound feeling of knowing that accompanies unconsciously held beliefs, a major component of the unshakable attachment to fundamentalist beliefs, both religious and otherwise. It turns out human reason did not evolve to help us find the truth. It evolved to help us defend positions arrived at largely in unreasonable ways. The reason for this lies deep in the reptilian corners of our brain. Natural selection selects for what is useful. Appearing confident, useful. Decisiveness, useful. Defending one's turf, useful. And winning fights, always useful. But knowing the truth about abstract universal propositions involving beauty, truth, and God, not so much. It turns out that appearing to know the truth about these things is more valuable, evolutionarily speaking, than actually being right. Many of us have heard that if you stick brain electrodes into the pleasure centers of rats, they'll continuously push the button until they drop. It's quite likely the same or a similar reward system exists to provide the positive feedback necessary for us to learn and continue to want to learn. The pleasure of a thought is what propels us forward. Imagine trying to write a novel, compose a piece of music, create a piece of art, learn a language, or engage in a long-term scientific experiment without getting such rewards. Fortunately, the brain provides us with a wide variety of subjective feelings of reward, ranging from hunches, gut feelings, intuitions, suspicions we're on the right track, to a profound sense of certainty and utter conviction. And yes, these are probably qualitatively as powerful as those feelings involved in sex and gambling. One need only to look at the self-satisfied smugness of a know-it-all to suspect that all feelings of certainty can approach the power of addiction. I take strong exception to the popular notion we can rely upon hunches and gut feelings as though they reflect the accuracy of thought. My hope is the converse. We need to recognize that the feelings of certainty and conviction are involuntary mental sensations, not logical conclusions. Intuitions, gut feelings, and hunches are neither right nor wrong, but tentative ideas that must be then submitted to empirical testing. If such testing isn't possible, we must accept that any absolute stance is a personal vision, not a statement of fact. The late physicist Carl Sagan put it this way: I try not to think with my gut. If I'm serious about understanding the world, thinking with anything besides my brain, as tempting as it might be, is likely to get me into trouble. And yet we go off again and again and again, blundering along with all of our evolutionary certainty intact. This isn't a conservative problem or a liberal problem. I suggest it's a human problem. I don't believe we can avoid certainty bias, but perhaps we can mitigate its effect by becoming aware of how our mind assesses itself. And once we realize that the mind of everyone else does this about as poorly as our own minds do, perhaps in paying very strong attention to whatever is being advocated from a position of certainty and not a position of knowledge. In short, please run, do not walk. Anytime you hear so-called leaders of any group be certain about what they are advocating. Run even faster if they can produce no actual evidence to support their beliefs. If we wish for open-mindedness and the mental flexibility and willingness to contemplate alternative ideas, we're going to have to do something about our certainty. For some folks, the opposite of certainty is skepticism, unquestioning questioning of everything. Bill Maher advocates this approach, though seeming without employing it himself most of the time. While I believe skepticism is really important, I think it too can be taken to extremes. Carl Sagan again, if you're only skeptical, then no new ideas make it through to you. You never learn anything. You become a crotchety misanthrope convinced that nonsense is ruling the world. There is, of course, much data to support you on this idea. Since major discoveries are rare, experience will tend to confirm your grumpiness. But every now and then, a new idea turns out to be on the mark, valid, and wonderful. If you're too resolutely and uncompromisingly skeptical, you're going to miss the transforming discoveries. And either you're going to be obstructing understanding and progress. Mere skepticism is not enough. Okay, so what is the solution? True confession, I'm a science teacher. I'm going to suggest perhaps it lies in science. Science is not a major or a career. It's a commitment to a systematic way of thinking, an allegiance to a way of building knowledge and explaining the universe through testing and factual observation. The thing is, it isn't a normal way of thinking. It's unnatural and counterintuitive much of the time. It has to be learned. Scientific explanation stands in contrast to the wisdom of divinity and experience and common sense. Common sense once told us the sun moves across the sky, and if you go out in the winter, you're going to catch cold. It took scientific minds to recognize these intuitions were hypotheses that had to be tested. When I started college, I took a class called Man and the Natural Environment, a class that combined geology, biology, and anthropology with long periods of field work. The most intellectually unnerving thing I discovered was how wrong many of my assumptions about the world were. I looked to my professors and fellow students to supply replacement ideas for my original thinking. And then I returned home with some of those ideas and told my parents everything they'd got wrong. They loved that. But even then, I was just replacing one set of received beliefs for another. It took me a long time to recognize the particular mindset that scientists have. The great physicist Edwin Hubble, speaking at Caltech's commencement in 1938, said a scientist, quote, has a healthy skepticism, suspended judgment, and disciplined imagination, not only about other people's ideas, but also about his or her own. The scientist has an experimental mind, not a litigious one. As a student, this seemed to me much more than a way of thinking. It was a way of being, kind of weird way of being. You're supposed to have skepticism and imagination, but not too much. You're supposed to suspend judgment, yet exercise it. Ultimately, you hope to observe the world with an open mind, gathering facts and testing your predictions and expectations against them. Then you make decisions to either affirm or reject the ideas at hand. But you also hope to accept that nothing is ever completely settled. All knowledge is probable knowledge. Hubble again, the scientist explains the world by successive approximations. And here's something that matters. Scientists don't do this alone. Few working scientists can give a ground-up explanation of the phenomenon they study. They rely on information and techniques borrowed from other scientists. Knowledge and the virtues of the scientific orientation lie far more in the community than the individual. When we talk of a scientific community, we're pointing to something critical, that advanced science is a social enterprise characterized by an intricate division of cognitive labor. Individual scientists, no less than the quacks, can be famously bullheaded, overly enamored of their own pet theories, dismissive of new evidence, and heedless of their own fallibility. The physicist Max Planck once observed that science advances one funeral at a time. But as a community endeavor, science is beautifully self-correcting. Okay, Hugh, we have a solution to being certain. We can rely on science, except, of course, it isn't that simple either. Science is impartial and impersonal. It simply is. What we make of science, that can be used for good or twisted into evil. I took the title for this sermon from a long ago episode of a public television show called The Ascent of Man. The writer and narrator, the mathematician Jacob Bronowski, the series described in Bronowski's delightfully underplayed way the history of humanity's scientific endeavors. The first 10 episodes are charming forays into the development of various scientific ways of looking at the world, and then there comes the 11th episode, Knowledge or Certainty, in which the tone changed dramatically. Bronowski began the episode with the words, "One aim of the physical sciences has been to give an actual picture of the material world. One achievement of physics in the 20th century has been to show that such an aim is unattainable. What physics has now done is to show there is no absolute knowledge, and those who claim it, whether they are scientists or dogmatists, open the door to tragedy. All information is imperfect. We have to treat it with humility. That is the human condition, and that's what quantum physics says. Errors are inexorably bound up with the pursuit of knowledge, which requires not just mathematical calculation, but insight, interpretation, and a personal act of judgment for which we are responsible." The emphasis on moral responsibility of knowledge was essential for all of Dr. Bronowski's work. The acquisition of knowledge entails a responsibility for the integrity of what we are as ethical creatures. I want to play for you the end of this episode, the last couple of minutes, Knowledge or Certainty. Cross your fingers.
It's said that science will dehumanize people and turn them into numbers. That's false, tragically false. Look for yourself. This is the concentration camp and crematorium at Auschwitz. This is where people were turned into numbers. into this pond were flushed the ashes of some 4 million people. And that was not done by gas. It was done by arrogance. It was done by dogma. It was done by ignorance. When people believe that they have absolute knowledge with no test in reality, this is how they behave. This is what men do when they aspire to the knowledge of gods. Science is a very human form of knowledge. We are always at the brink of the known. We always feel forward for what is to be hoped. Every judgment in science stands on the edge of error and is personal. Science is a tribute to what we can know, although we are fallible. In the end, the words were said by Oliver Cromwell. I beseech you in the bowels of Christ, think it possible you may be mistaken. I owe it as a scientist to my friend Leo Szilard. I owe it as a human being to the many members of my family who died here, to stand here as a survivor and a witness. We have to cure ourselves of the itch for absolute knowledge and power. We have to close the distance between the push-button order and the human act. We have to touch people.
We have to touch people. Isn't this exactly what our faith calls us to do? Unitarian Universalists agree to affirm and promote 7 principles, the first of which is to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. It turns out that certainty isn't enough, and knowledge isn't enough, and skepticism isn't enough, and science isn't enough. Our faith asks more of us and gives us more. The sources from which Unitarian Universalism draws its wisdom include humanist teachings which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science, and warn us against idolatries of the mind and spirit. Idolatries of the mind and spirit. Claiming knowledge and reason without accepting personal responsibility for what we know seems to me to be very much where we are when we are certain, relying on our fallible, pleasure center reptilian brain, walking us blindly right into idolatry of the mind. When we make reason an idol, we take something very valuable to our religion and mistake it for the foundation of our religion. In the end, I propose that it matters that I keep remembering, you keep remembering, we all keep remembering. We know less than we think we know. We are certain about far more than we have any reason to be certain, and that keeping our minds open enough to allow the space to be wrong just might allow us the space to be humans who stand as more than the sum of their biology. Humans willing to do the hard work of living into what our faith calls us to do. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.
Mike's gonna count.
1, 2, 3, 4. I was in another lifetime, one of toil and blood, When blackness was a virtue, the road was full of mud. I came in from the wilderness, a creature void of form. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. And if I pass this way again, you can rest assured I'll always do my best for her. On that I give my word. In a world of steel-eyed death and of men who are fighting to be warm, come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. Not a word was spoke between us. There was little risk involved. Everything up to that point had been left unresolved. Try imagining a place where it's always safe and warm. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. I was burned out from exhaustion, buried in the hail, poisoned in the bushes, and blown out on the trail. Hunted like a crocodile, ravaged in the corn. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. Suddenly I turned around and she was standing there, the silver bracelets on her wrists and flowers in her hair. She walked up to me so gracefully and took my crown of thorns. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. Now there's a wall between us, something there's been lost. I took too much for granted, got my signals crossed. Just to think that it all began on this long forgotten morn. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. Well, the deputy walks on hard nails and the preacher rides a mount. But nothing really matters much, it's doom alone that counts. And the one-eyed undertaker, he blows a futile horn. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. I've heard newborn babies wailing like a mourning dove, and old men with broken teeth stranded without love. Do I understand your question, man? Is hopeless and forlorn. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. In a little hilltop village, they gambled for my clothes. I bargained for salvation, they gave me a lethal dose. I offered up my innocence and got repaid with scorn. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. Well, I'm living in a foreign country, but I'm bound to cross the line. Beauty walks the razor's edge, someday I'll make it mine. If I could only turn back the clock to when God and her were born. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm.
Hello again. I'm fairly new to this church, As you know, I came here because I felt akin to the community, the mission, the approach, the intellectual and spiritual integrity of this place. But it's hard to get started in a new social milieu. At first, I just sat towards the back and exited quickly at the end of the service. But as I have begun to take risks of participation, the relationships are growing. Standing beside others in support of Black lives, mud and taping a shelter, running a Chalice circle, contributing to worship, all have begun building a solid foundation of belonging. With this comes the responsibility to keep this place alive and healthy, which costs money. So I have also begun committing annually, contributing to the offering when I'm here, and giving when inspiring projects like supporting an Afghan family arise. I encourage you to join me on this road. Take the scary step of connection, contribute time, and give financially. In this spirit, please join me in our words of offering. If not us, then who? If not open hearts, then what? If not now, then when? If not here, then where? If not generously, then how? If not us, then who? Here's a slide showing how you can make a financial contribution right now. Or if you are on the Alluvial Avenue campus, you can always drop cash or check into the basket on your way out of the sanctuary. We can't pass baskets in the times of COVID. Thank you in advance for saying yes. May this church continue to be worthy of the many forms of your gift, and may those gifts allow us to continue to bring these Sunday services here and into your home each week.
Please join in our Chalice extinguishing words. Extinguimos esta llama para no la luz de la verdad, el calor de comunidad, o el fuego de nuestro compromiso. Estos los llevaremos en el corazón. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts. We do have a few reminders this afternoon, of course. First of all, the exit. When we exit, we are exiting out those doors. Please allow the socially distant side of the sanctuary to exit before you all make your way out those doors. I'll go out and wave hi to everybody. And those with mobility issues can, of course, exit out the main stairway. Coffee hour is back on our Alluvial campus. We have heaters out there even, so you can join for conversation out here with us after the service. We have orange picking on Saturday, February 5th from 9 to 11. Please bring whatever you have to keep yourself, like safe, like long sleeves, because the orange trees poke back. We also have campus cleanup on February 5th and February 12th, an annual tradition of trying to spruce everything up before spring takes over and creates weedy messes every place. Also from 9 to 12, bring whatever you have to help with those efforts, please. We have a new website. Yay, new website. It's gorgeous. If you haven't been, go check out the new website. It's really nice, easier to get around than the previous website. Great effort brought forward. There's Chloe out cheering, so wave hi to Chloe and tell her congrats when you do see her out there. And then I want to remind everyone, our Sweetheart of an Auction, our biggest fundraiser of the year, will be held online again this year, February 6th through 13th. We have a video today featuring Emily to talk a little bit about the Sweetheart of an Auction.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Emily Kaisinga, and I'm here this morning on behalf of our upcoming Sweetheart of an Auction, February 6th through 13th. We've raised our goal this year to $25,000, and we hope you will all participate in our auction and invite your friends too, so we can realize that goal. Today, I'm actually coming to you from my classroom because I am going to teach you 2 tips to help you easily find items on the auction website. You should already have a link to the auction website, but if you don't, you will find it at the bottom of our auction logo or on the church website over here to the left. Now, I am already registered for the auction, so I want to go right to the auction button at the top. I like Max's Restaurant. How could I find just the Max's Restaurant gift card? I will type Max's into the search bar and then hit on the magnifying glass. On this search bar, you will need the exact name of the item. Then, when you found what you would like to see and are ready to look for something new, make sure that you clear the search bar by hitting this X. That was the first way to search. Here is the second way to search. We have many excellent restaurants and food offerings in this auction. How could I just bring up all the restaurants and food items to the screen? I will just go to the Show Me search bar, which is a category search. Look at all of the categories. I think restaurants would be under food and beverage. Now you'll see we have the Hunan Chinese restaurant dinner, hearty Mediterranean appetizers and wine, an evening with the mamas and the tapas, Dennis Willie's Soup Stew Chili Club, $30 gift card to Moto's Delicatessen, and a $100 cracked pepper gift certificate. These are just a few of the many items in this category. So you can see that using the 2 search methods can help you find an item quickly. I'll go back to showing everything and make sure that if you are scrolling, you scroll all the way to the end because there are many excellent items near the end and there are multiple pages to click through. If you scroll all the way to the very last page at the end, there are many delicious desserts. So please go to the website and try to search some of the items that you want. Practice searching. It will save you a lot of time when you're in the middle of a bidding war during the auction and trying to win an item that you really want. Thank you for coming to my little mini lesson this morning, and I hope that you'll be part of our biggest fundraiser of the year starting on February 6th. Bye.
Thanks, Emily. I really appreciate learning where the desserts are. Y'all stay off that page, okay? As we prepare to end our service and return to the outside world, we have a tradition here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno. We'd like to acknowledge those who are with us for the first, second, or third time. We are happy and honored that of all the places you could have been this morning, you chose to spend time with us. So if you're here virtually, will you please give a shout out in the chat? And with those of you that are here for the first, second, or third time in the sanctuary, please stand so we can acknowledge you. We won't leave you standing alone very long, I promise. Welcome. And now will the rest of you on the Alluvial Ave campus please rise as you're willing and able. Please place your hands over your precious heart as we, for our closing words and sung benediction. Today's closing words come to us from Maya Angelou. The thing to do, it seems to me, is to prepare yourself so you can be a rainbow in somebody else's cloud. Somebody who may not look like you, may not call God the same name you call God, if they call God at all. I may not dance your dances or speak your language. Be a blessing to somebody. May it be so.
1, 2, 3, 4.
May we have safe passage, safe passage. May we have safe passage on our way. Safe passage on your way, wander.
1, 2, 3.